Joy.
I mean, why don't we just start? Huh? Word. So, what was that? Which game are we starting with? All right, let's start with the Montana game.
Yay!
um, it's the one everyone wants to hear about. It was uh, it was an interesting game for sure. Um, Montana played well, but not quite well enough
I did not.
to. He'll say he didn't play well. It was a close game either way. There's some controversy over how the game was played, but it was a good game. Um, and it just goes to show you that anyone can beat anyone in this type of game. So yeah, do you have any comments, Drew? No.
Well, I'll be the first one to say I played like shit. Like I was absolute garbage. Strategy out the window. I didn't score as much as I needed to. I settled on 2 field goals. I consistently got into a zone and stalled out. So I will totally give Weaver credit for playing some remarkable defense. That's the most I've been shut down. I mean, chew clock regardless, but the fact that I could not get anything going in that final stretch where I needed to get some yards, needed to get some clutch points, I couldn't do it. All credit to him for that. Obviously, strategy aside, that was the worst game I've played all year, and I paid the price. So, like Denny said, anyone can beat anyone in this, which is why I just I give him credit for that. That's about it, though. I'm pretty sure it was like a third and short. I think it was a third and short. So I run a spread offense, and I don't know. I don't think running is that successful unless it's 5 yards or under. And I didn't get into a situation where it's third and short a lot. I think that was one of the reasons why I struggled was I kept getting into longer third downs and I couldn't get any good yards on like first and second down. And whenever I was driving, I was getting like 14 yards, 18 yards, which is the thing of the spread offense. It goes one way or the other. You either get 10 plus or you get like under two. So that one rushing yard is the one time I actually had like a third and short, and I think I got stopped like 1 yard short, but I went for it on fourth. I'm pretty sure I got the next play. I could be wrong though. No, I mean for me, so I generally have a good idea of where someone's going to go. I mean, obviously I'll miss, but I generally have a good idea. So what I'll do is I'll kind of put that number in, like I'll type it in, and then I'll kind of think about it there for a second, and then I'll adjust it by like 1 or 200. That way I cover my turnover. That's why I don't turn over a lot. Whenever I looked at Jox's stat sheet earlier, I noticed I was one of the lower ones in turnovers, and I don't think I maybe turned it over once against Weber. I'm not sure, but I don't turn it over that often. I'll usually go for it on fourth down, but I adjust it by 1 or 200. That way I cover my turnover. I'd rather take the minus 10 yards, especially in a spread offense where it's really easy to get big chunk plays, so I can get right back the next play. But that's normally how I do it. I don't really turn it over that often. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean I have run the option offense, which is the complete opposite of how Drew plays. I go for getting yards on every play, but it really sucks when you get into a third and long and you have nothing you can do. But it's kind of the opposite of how he plays.
I think this is just one of those situations for me where I almost want to say it's a confidence thing. I mean, I'm pretty confident in the numbers that I'm going to put in there and how much I'm going to do, how much damage I'm going to do to my opponent. So what I'll do is just kind of go anywhere near it because I know if I get within like a 200 or 300 difference, then I'm going to get a good play, and it's really easy to do. And like I said, if it's under like 3, I'll rush. Just get a quick rushing yard, easy first down. I can just go do it again, rinse and repeat. Mix it up.
Yeah, let's mix it up. They were number.
I think they were 6.
I feel like we should know this.
I think I remember seeing something about it. I know. I mean, whenever I saw the score, I was completely shocked. But then I looked at Jacksonville. I'm pretty sure that's SMU's coach that's coaching them right now, double dipping. So when I saw that, I wasn't as surprised. But I still think Chattanooga is the best team in that conference. That is a rough loss, though. I don't think that's not going to look very well, and they're going to drop down. Not that far, but they'll drop a little bit. Definitely out of, I guess, the comfort zone of getting a bye, but still favored to win their conference. I think they still have a really good outlook, and I think they're still going to win their conference easily. But that's definitely a rough loss.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was SMU. That's tough going against the seasoned vet in FBS. Kind of like what happened to, I guess maybe not what happened to Campbell, but some other coaches this year. Rough conference week.
But Jacksonville State needs to win and have Chattanooga lose. So, yeah, that's what it is. But Chattanooga still controls its own destiny. They they have the easiest path. They just need to win their game, and they're in.
That's right. A win over ETSU is they're in.
Welcome, Chase.
Welcome, Chase. That was
Hey
weird.
guys, thought I spooked you there. I'm officially on the road. I got the headphones in, and I'm now broadcasting to the world of FCS.
From a cornfield in Iowa.
You
Going to the Hannon
motherfucker!
Farm.
You bastards. Yes, from the Hannon farm. Just got done husking the corn. It's a late night, but that's right. Chickens are asleep. Other farm anecdotes. What are we talking about? What did I miss?
We're currently talking about Chattanooga.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we've had what 6 top 10 teams go down so far, maybe even 7. This was on my radar, perhaps the most surprising. I think Jacksonville's certainly a good team, but Chattanooga was undefeated in conference prior to this. I figured they'd fall to a tougher team than that, but definitely strengthens Jacksonville's resume. But like you guys said before I was on, all they need is that win over ETSU and it's their money. ETSU, I like Chattanooga in the game, but ETSU has yet to face that formidable foe. It seems like they've drawn sort of an easy road because they either face a team that dogs or doesn't play and so they win, or they get blown out of the water. I'm going to take Chattanooga in that one. I hope it's close just for the sake of both teams trying to get into the playoffs because that's a solid conference. Absolutely.
Well, I think regardless of win or lose next week, I think Chattanooga still probably hangs on. I mean, they'll fall far from their number 5 ranking now, but
for sure. What do you guys think that they are currently, like after this loss? I'm thinking mid-teens.
Well, there's several teams below them that have also lost this week.
That is true.
I do think that's harsh.
Yeah, that is fair. All the teams around.
I think they hang around 10.
Sure,
they're going to be around 10. I don't think they drop that far. I mean, they'll drop 4 or 5. They'll definitely be out of playoff bye range.
I don't have team sheets in front of me. I don't have team sheets in front of me. Chattanooga's signature wins. They beat Campbell by 1. What's the other one?
MVSU.
That would be the one. That's right.
Nah, that's one of the best wins out of anyone.
That's right. It was their first. It was 50-26 in the first game, or 50-24. One of those. It was the first game that both teams played. I just remember coming back to that was what I hung my hat on for voting for Chattanooga the whole time.
They're still really good. Yeah. Yeah, Chattanooga's dangerous, man. I still think they're one of the best teams and I think they're going to make a run and deep into playoffs. I think they'll win the conference too. They're still really good.
This is a very critical juncture here. I think even if they do lose to ETSU, I agree they're probably in, but they need that dub.
Yeah, I think getting a bye would really help them a lot.
What's next on the docket? I don't have it in front of me.
So, do we want to move on to the MVSU Bethune-Cookman game, since we were talking about them?
Yeah, the king of Elo takes down Docs Man, getting doxxed, whatever. Don't know if I should actually drop his real name in front of all you guys. Well, Bethune-Cookman, what was the final score? Do you have that in front of
you? It was 24-17, and it was a close game throughout the fourth quarter.
That's right. Bethune-Cookman kicked that field goal toward the end and just did not leave enough time for MVSU.
That's a good win. That's a really good win. That's tough.
Doesn't have an at-large case, but this helps them to try and jump Mercer in that bottom of the comp. I can't remember what it's just the South or whatever it is, that division down there.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So it looks like my blue snowball mic was off for that duration, which means that
clusterfuck down there with Mercer.
All of it. Oh, wait, this is still broadcast. No, okay. Which means all of everything that I just recorded is lost. So from this point going on, you'll be able to hear me. From this point going backwards, it was silence, and I apologize for that. That there's relatively nothing I can do, especially during the midterms week. I apologize, and we'll get back.
I think they're getting destroyed right now by Campbell.
Yeah, I think Campbell's winning that one.
Say, if that's the case,
I think it's pretty bad,
Bethune-Cookman just win and in.
Dang. Good. Would that be a rematch then?
Bethune-Cookman against Chattanooga, assuming... Or excuse me.
Chattanooga, that's right.
No, I'm in the wrong conference, aren't I? It's MDSU. I always get those two mixed up. Well, the reason I got it mixed up is because Bethune-Cookman was like a right?
Yeah, it was a rescheduled game after both of their opponents did not show up.
That would be why I got it mixed up. Yep.
But yeah, Campbell's winning 35-7 right now in the third quarter.
So it's a close one, okay.
They should hang on to that.
If your name is Montana, you've got no problem coming back to that one.
You've seen it firsthand,
28 points is a...
All right, Campbell.
Nothing new.
Start chewing clock now.
Start chewing clock now. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it really is. Once you're up by like 3 scores, I was just talking to myself about this earlier. I was like, if you're in a game and you get to the point where you can kneel out all of your possessions and still win, even if it's by 1 point, how many coaches do you think would do that? Or how many do you think, I'll just kind of run up the score, whatever?
Well, here, the interesting thing to me is it's not real football where you can control those outcomes and just fall on the ground. If you put a wrong number, that's a turnover or a pick six or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you can't hold on to the ball any tighter.
Like, you submitting a number, there's that infinitesimal chance that you could get fucked.
Yeah, I know, but you can always kneel out. Kneeling doesn't take a number.
Right, that's what I mean. But it's like if you are trying to run up the score.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's true.
Or not even necessarily run up the score, just like burn clock.
Mm-hmm.
By getting first downs and such.
We should stick to the subject of going over current games. I apologize, but yeah. So, what do you guys want to hit up next?
What do we got next on the timeline for game?
You had the sheet, Danny, right?
All
the big games.
All the big games? No,
a couple of big Sky games.
We can go to the either big Sky games or the game day games. Both those are done now.
Let's do the big Sky games first, and then the game day one.
The game day ones are going to be pretty big.
Both of you.
to the two of them, I think I'll be okay. But yes,
that's right.
So Idaho State,
very low scoring games.
Yeah. What do you have any general overall comments, Tenny, about the game?
I just couldn't get my offense going early, and both teams were running option offenses, and the clock kind of got away from me towards the end. I was driving down the field, down 5, and just ran out of time. And on the last play, I ended up fumbling the ball. I knew it was either going to be one or the other, and I picked one, and it ended up being a 7:48 difference, and ended up fumbling the ball off instead of having that walk-off touchdown. But it was a close game. It was a good game. Norco is definitely a great team to watch out for come playoff time.
Who loses to Norco? Jesus.
But yeah,
I have a win over a team that beat both of you. I mean, maybe not the same coach, but that's got to feel. I guess I'm saying that's got to feel good. That does feel good. I'm a bit bummed that my good friend Tenny didn't have a win, but I'll have to take this. Getting more.
Next week I could have a win over all 3 of you, so that would feel great.
Yeah, we'll see. So, do you guys have any other questions about the game that you'd like to ask Tenny?
Tenny, was there something on defense that, you're normally good at getting better as the game goes on with offense. Like, was there a pattern that like you just couldn't figure out, or was he like changing up what he normally does week by week? 'Cause I know you kind of check that out with scouting.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously my defense did well, only holding them to 17. My offense, I went for 2 a couple times. That's why I ended up with 12 instead of 14, which at the beginning, once I got my first touchdown, I thought I had a read on him, and I was playing well that drive, so I went for it. I went for 2 and came up short. And then kind of middle of the third quarter, I kind of lost it, and I kind of lost some confidence and I just couldn't figure out his pattern, and had some short drives, I think I had at least one where I failed a 4th down conversion, but I think it was like, and then I had another one where it was like a 4th and 17, which you can't go for that really.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just didn't have enough time once I finally got the ball back at the end of the game, and I was feeling good at the end, but when you start a drive with a minute to go and 82 yards, it's tough to win. But
I know you mentioned how like you were kind of screwed with having an option offense. Do you think this would have been better suited toward a like spread offense type of game, at least at the end?
so I definitely, an option offense is great if you can have the lead and can kind of control the game, because you can slow it down a bit. But when you're playing from behind, I do not like the option offense, especially against, I can't remember what his defense was, but it was like basically, option offense was still the best way to go every play. But running, even for like a 6-yard run, it takes 22 seconds. Whereas if you had a
Right.
spread offense, you could get like a 5-yard slant and it'll take 5 seconds or something like that. So It's just, the option offense is not a great one for come from behind games, which is probably why Montana has had so many great come from behind victories, because you run that spread and can charge down the field in seconds.
Yeah, 82-yard passes are pretty fun.
He he ran the 3-4, which a lot of people have been complaining about, the 3-4 being super weak to the option. I think that is this is a good case of just the option maybe has some maybe there are schemes that are better or worse against it, but it definitely depends on your play style. So nothing is 100% going to be better than the other things, even though you can argue that some schemes aren't balanced.
Because theoretically,
yeah.
in real life, a 3-4 would be better against an option than a 4-3.
Well, I think the thing is
Right,
that
it's
you're
not just
more
spread time.
likely to get short yard gains. But it's like, I
Right.
think after 5 yards, the other schemes take over as being more favorable. But when in a game
Sure.
like this, it's when you
Then
only
the other
need
side of the
10.
bell curve.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I think with the option, it's like anything over 400 is 3, maybe 4 yards. So it's like, it's easy to get those short chunks, but if you have a couple bad plays on 1st or 2nd down, then you get into a 3rd and long, and you have
Passing on the
7,
option.
8, 10 yards, and passing doesn't work very well with the option, and trying to get that big of a run it's a much closer number to hit.
mm-hmm.
So, Drew, you want to talk about what happened?
Oh, we already did, my dude.
That was the first one.
No, I missed it.
Well,
Have any
Alright, well,
comments toward it?
speaking of which,
I'll
then,
go-
do you want to go to game day? Oh,
I would love to go to game day. My expertise.
Oh, I was gonna say there's one more Big Sky game, the San Diego one. We should touch on.
Yes, we should absolutely touch on that one. Sacramento State getting an absolutely signature win. San Diego getting eliminated from the South contention in the division when they seemed after last week like a great shot to win it.
mm-hmm.
Just shows that
I mean,
every team's falling around Cal Poly and they just keep winning.
we really didn't talk about Sac State last week either. When we were talking about all the contenders, we
Well,
kept talking
Sac
about
State,
Cal Poly, and
they
Go
were
ahead.
the one team that had already played Cal Poly and lost, and so with that tiebreaker, they had basically already been eliminated. But that's a huge win, and I'm not saying they're solidified in the playoffs or anything like that, but man, does that make the resume look all that much better.
yeah, I remember every time we do our committee votes, every time I'd get to Sac State, I'd be like, that's a really good record, but and their 2 losses are, I think, to 1 and 2. So like they weren't a bad team. They just hadn't played any of the other good Big Sky
So,
teams.
I believe
somehow.
at that time they had one top 50 win, and it was against Portland State because they qualified for a top 50 win.
Yeah, I mean they needed a signature win. Like that was the one big thing missing from the resume, and they finally have it. And
Yeah,
when I played him, like genuinely, he's good. He's really good. I mean, he had a 10-0 lead on me within like 2 minutes into the game. I was
and
terrified.
Sac State is double dipping, right?
Are they?
I think
he
so.
is on the sheet, but I don't remember what team he took.
Yeah, I genuinely don't know what's going on with that.
Texas State.
So theoretically,
Okay.
somebody could
I
come
think
in
it's that.
and snag Sac State. That's interesting. But
I didn't even know that.
regardless, yeah, his other Sac State's best win aside from, well, I see Wagner here, and Idaho. I don't think he's played Portland State, but the Wagner, I think Wagner just barely qualifies as top 50. But a loss to Montana and a loss to Cal Poly they were like his two best teams that he had played up to that point, the two playoff caliber teams, and he had lost to them. Yeah, and that was the sort of like, okay, well, you have wins and we want to pick winners, but you need to have sort of a statement win if you want to be ranked highly. And this was definitely it. I think Sac State is going to be pretty happy with where he's ranked after this week.
Yeah, probably upset that he didn't get that win over Cal Poly in retrospect. But hey, even if you don't win the division, you're certainly in a good spot.
Oh yeah,
He'll be a high at large. He'll be one of the higher at large teams for sure.
You'd have to imagine. Assuming he doesn't lose again. Who does he play? UC Davis in the final week?
yes.
Also a tough team.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be another top 50 win for him too. That'd really be a nice boost to the resume.
Absolutely. And that would get him to 9 wins, I believe, 9-3.
You definitely have to consider him for top 8. Ooh, UC Davis is kind of taking a beating though. Cal Poly again. Man, Cal Poly's good.
What's that score? 35-7, 28-7?
30-7.
Yeah.
All right, Chase. Floor is yours. Talk about your conference.
Oh,
Flex
yes. Well, you can just not pay attention to the Plains division and you won't lose any sleep. But the Metro division has been shaping up for a fantastic finish. And while the game scores were not close, we got 2 technical upsets in Dayton taking down Valparaiso 44-14. And then you'll have to remind me on the score, but I'm pretty sure Butler won 37-something against SIU.
37. Yep, 37-17.
There we go. Huge wins for both of those programs. Pretty much solidifies Butler in the playoff conversation, you'd have to imagine. I mean, even if they do drop somehow to North Dakota and Dayton ends up playing in the championship game, you'd have to think Butler's got the resume to at least squeak on in. But
I think Butler is almost top 8 at this point.
Yeah, just about. I would say with that win over a fringe SIU team, you'd have to imagine that they are going to be top 8 the next rank. It was 10-11 with Butler and Dayton this past week.
Yep, and Butler's got the win over Dayton.
They do. It's unfortunate that the current Dayton coach was not there for that one. We would have gotten a barn burner, I'm sure of it. But it still counts as the tiebreaker. And so if Butler wins Week 12, they take the division and will be playing for the Great Plains Conference crown. If Butler loses and Dayton wins, then Dayton will take the crown. It's interesting because just 2 weeks ago, SIU and Valpo were clearly in the lead. Butler was kind of a pipe dream, and Dayton nobody even really knew about. And both of those teams, the Butler and Dayton, won 2 in a row. Valpo and SIU lost 2 in a row, and just like that, the whole script is flipped.
Yeah, that's pretty
crazy.
crazy.
Who do you guys think is going to end up coming out of this conference?
I'll recuse myself, and I'll let you guys talk about it.
I mean, out of those, that division, I should say.
I mean, I don't see Butler losing to, is it North Dakota or South Dakota? I can't remember which.
It's North Dakota.
North Dakota.
So the worst of the two. That's unfortunate. But Yeah, I don't see them losing there. I would imagine. Who does Dayton play in the final week?
Drake.
They have Drake, which is a tough team.
I was gonna say that's the second place team over in the Plains, so certainly no slouch. DSU as the coach.
I'm kind of getting what I wanted. If the second place team in the Great Plains is playing the second place team and the Metro is playing the second place team in the Plains division, I mean, we got our 2v2 right there. That'll be a pretty good determinant to see, or it's a sort of a good metric to see which division really was.
Sure, I would imagine Drake is probably done, assuming that UNI wins. I was going to say, if they lose out and Drake win out, they can still make the title game.
Uh-huh.
UNI's magic number is 1. But you'd have to imagine, even if Drake were to beat Dayton, they'd probably have too many losses on the season. I want to say it's 4 overall, 5 overall.
Well, you're talking to a 4-loss team right now, but let's check. Drake right now is 6-3 with got.
So that's not awful. I was gonna say, and they're currently playing a Plains Plains team. So I'm not sure who it would be. Probably.
Looks like North Dakota.
North Dakota, one of the two, yeah. So then, if they get that one, I don't know the score of that one, and they were to knock off Dayton, I mean, 8-3 is, but not in the title game is certainly out of the question. I didn't realize they only had 3 losses.
Yeah, and they're up right now, 7-3. Still first quarter, but sure, with how fast it's going, it might end that way.
Those Dakota schools play about every 10 hours. So. It's a real slug out in the Plains. I wish I had gotten drawn in the Metro, but we don't want it to be too one-sided. Jeez. And I'm not even talking about one-sided in terms of like these teams are good, just one-sided in teams that like play.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So, do we want to segue into our interview then? With that,
I think we got some big games. Yeah, we could even ask him a couple Drake questions.
Yeah.
The perfect segue.
Okay, let me do it.
You want to come join us?
Yeah, I think I have to give him permissions though.
Do it up. All right.
While we do that, guys in the chat, if you want to get some Q&A going, we're gonna have that later on. So if you guys want to start asking some questions, we can pin them. That way we can get to them later and avoid the whole process of waiting in silence. So, Chase, are you excited to see? Let's assume that you come out of your division. Who would you want to play?
So if you take a look at my resume, you don't see that signature win, and I would love to get Butler because I've already played Dayton. So even winning there, it would just be a rematch. I'd be 1-1 on the season. Butler would be a fantastic matchup. I think it would be beneficial for both squads. Whoever ends up getting the win would have a decent chance to get a bye. Whoever loses, I feel like if I lose, I probably am a fringe, a team, like a bubble team. But if Butler loses, I think they're definitely still in. I just have always wanted to play Butler, and we just never drew each other in the regular season. Same with Valparaiso, wanted to play them. SIU, I never got to play, but, I know his address, so if I lost.
Always a quick little drive.
It's not too far. I've only Google Mapped it a couple times.
Yeah.
I told you I'm driving home right now. I'm actually driving to Ekstrom's house.
Taking a detour.
Honestly.
Gonna deliver.
Hey!
Right. Sour grind.
Welcome, boy.
Wow. Can you hear me?
Almost
yeah, we can hear you.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
A lot quicker than last week.
Yeah. I mean, you gonna start reading my Italian homework to everyone?
Arrivederci.
Miss Jenkins was proud. All right. Questions. Tenny, do you have some?
So MVSU, after this recent loss, where do you see yourself landing in the polls, especially with all the teams around you losing as well?
I mean, I figured I'll probably end up like around 8. Some people are going to be more forgiving than others. It does help that literally like 7 teams in the top 10 lost. So, my meme said, if everyone loses, nobody lost. I expect to be right on that fringe of still having a bye and not. And I'm really nervous because I have Central Arkansas next week, and they're due for a big game. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm quite nervous.
So, do you think that you will end up getting a bye in playoffs still if you were to win?
Well, even if I win, I think I'd have to win my conference championship game. So I think I have to win my next 2 games to even think about getting a bye. I haven't checked the playoff scenarios. I don't know if one of you can, but to see if if I've clinched with whoever needed to lose lost, I forgot off the top of my head. I'm just worried about winning and making the conference championship, because if I lose this game this next week against Central Arkansas, I think I creep into that bubble conversation, depending on who else wins and loses.
So what happened? So Central Arkansas lost, and they were eliminated.
Yep.
You have to, if you beat Central Arkansas next week, you clinch. Otherwise,
Yep.
you would need, I think, SEMO to lose this week or Arkansas Pine Bluff to lose this week.
I think you would need both of them to lose.
Yes.
I believe.
Well, Arkansas Pine Bluff dogged against me,
So they might not have a game, which will be interesting.
Actually, yeah, I think that eliminates Arkansas Pine Bluff too, because they're only 2-2.
So
Yep.
SEMO is what, up 17-16 in the first. Oh wow. So yeah, I just need to win, secure a postseason spot. I think if I can beat Central Arkansas, it'll at least clinch a playoff spot, not necessarily a bye.
Yeah.
Now,
So is
what
there
are your
any-
thoughts on assuming that you're going to be taking on Eastern Kentucky? Do you have any initial thoughts on that matchup?
I mean, I know he goes fast, and I know he scores a lot of points. Again, worried about getting there first, but I'm gonna have to play really well. And if I win that game, I think that would put me near the top 5 again. And everyone's hyping him up, so he's the real deal. He's came into the dick and been rock solid the whole time.
Is there a certain team that you would want to play? Like, say you made a run in playoffs. Is there any specific team that you want to see in playoffs that you think would just be a really fun game?
I do think a rematch with Chattanooga would be a lot of fun. Obviously, it's to see how far we've come, because when we first started, it was just like 2 people who just joined and we said, sure, let's play each other. And then the top teams too would be fun, but I think number 1 would be a rematch with Chattanooga, just because it would be a nice bookend to our seasons to start and have one of us finish playing against each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that win, as of right now, is really propping up Chattanooga's resume. So you have to think, it's crazy how you just said, yeah, sure, let's play, and that's affecting him 4 months later.
Yeah, right. It was we were just both joking. We're like, we have no idea what the hell is going on. We were basically asking each other, making sure we were submitting plays correctly, and and I lost. I think I had a couple drop kickoffs on that game.
50
it would
to
be
26.
very interesting to see how far we came. Yeah, it got bad in the second half. But it's a very friendly rivalry too. It's kind of special. We both played each other to start, so a little sentimental there too.
Aww.
How do you feel about with Drake? Do you think Drake's gonna sneak into playoffs? I know you've been subbing that for a while.
I think Drake's been really overlooked, actually. I don't think they have a signature win. They
Villanova,
when they first.
North Dakota State are their 2 best wins. Villanova and North Dakota State.
I was there for North Dakota State. Unfortunately, I lost my biggest game with them against Northern Iowa, which if I win that game, I'm staring at a conference championship appearance with them. But is Drake eligible for a Week 12 game? Because if they are, I think that will make the difference being a first four out or first four in if I can get a good opponent and win that.
I don't think they are.
Okay, so that.
Yeah. Oh, wait.
So if that's the case, then I need to beat Dayton and then hope for a little luck.
No, they are. I'm seeing 9 games played through 10 weeks. So after 12,
so they would be eligible to play a game.
Yes.
All right. So yeah, I'm gonna have to look to see who I can get scheduled for that. I'm feeling very confident about this North Dakota game. We might get to the second quarter at this rate, but yeah, it would be really nice to see Drake in the playoffs because I think they've just kind of been forgotten about with Northern Iowa ruling over our division.
Have you thought about, now that you've got the ears of, I haven't checked, but a decent amount of FCS faithful shouting out and trying to get a matchup right now?
Oh, people are trying to get a game with Drake? Or is that what you said? Sorry.
Yeah, if you're trying to get a Week 13 matchup and you don't want any slouch, you should try asking right now. See if anyone wants to in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to challenge Drake in Week 13 and you're not going to be in your conference title game, I know there's probably some Big Sky teams that will be on the border just from cannibalizing themselves. Woo. Go ahead, DM me, and I will be ready to see if I can sneak Drake in through the back door.
Oh, you snuck in through a lot of back doors.
Yes, many.
Speaking of that, what do you have to say about your last game? I don't know if we already ask you about that.
No,
Bethune Cookman.
I mean a little bit, but not too much. I didn't go into great detail. So, Bethune Cookman played a great game. It was one of the more fun games I've played the entire time. I don't know if Jocks is still in the chat, but no, he played really well, and I just didn't make the plays I needed to make. There were times where I got it to like the 38. Yeah, hey, he's still here. I got it to like his 38, his 37, and I stalled out, and I had to go for it on like 4th and 7 or punt it away from their 39. So, yeah, it was. Oh, my bad. You know that. Anyway, but I got to like her 39 and just couldn't finish, and that hurt me a lot. If I even just get one more first down, I add 6 more points to the board, and it becomes a completely different game. She made the plays when it was big, and I didn't, and she definitely deserved the win. I think that's a scary team going into the playoffs, especially since I believe she took over Week 7. So, yeah, all the credit to them. I didn't play my best game. I hope I see them again. That would be another rematch I'd like in the playoff. But overall, I left something on the field, and I'm not happy with it.
Gotcha. Yeah, that'd be another fun. If you both get there into that playoffs there, that'd be a fun one to watch, because I think that was a really intense game. It happened really quick, as I was saying before. So it's two great coaches.
Played it in like 3 or 4 hours, I think. So it was it was an intense game. I thought I scored with, I believe, like 6 minutes to go in the fourth. They scored. I got stopped on a 4-2. They got a field goal, and I had like 17 seconds to score, and I couldn't do it. So it was definitely a heartbreak.
Yeah. I can feel it. Oh, am I disconnected?
All right, so I have one question. This one's a little off topic from fake football, but how do you think Wayne State's going to do this year?
We can't do worse than last year. Let's just put it that way. You guys didn't hear me say that, but we did win multiple games last year, so that multiple.
That's more than one.
So, yes, more than one.
For you math heads out there.
Yeah, so don't go double checking. Just trust me, we won multiple games.
All right, well, should we move on then? Next.
Thanks for the interview, man.
Yes, you should
no problem.
you're free to
Go
stick
on.
around too, because I like.
We'll see you at the after party for sure.
That's
All
very
right.
true.
If not, I'll see you at the after party where you can stalk my life even more, or I might just stick around. Won't say a lot, but I might just have to keep you guys in.
All right, sounds
Always,
great.
man.
Take care.
Will do.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
All right. Next, I know we've done it a little bit, and this will be a good way to integrate all the conferences. We're going to go over the updates to the conference standings and how championship games lie about. And we'll just start with the top and end with the bottom. So that means if you are the America East or ASUN, you're in luck because we're going to start with you guys. America East right now is looking even more like it's going to be Sacred Heart Stony Brook. I think Sacred Heart is clinched. Stony Brook is up in their game, and if they win, they're in against Albany. So what do you guys have to say about I know not much has changed since we had our last
Stony Brook's up 24-3 right now.
Wow.
So they're looking good.
What do you think about that championship game there if that happens? Assuming that happens. Stony Brook Sacred Heart.
I think it's everything to gain and everything to lose there because loser of that title game probably misses the playoffs, even if it's Sacred Heart.
I think so too. I mean, I think Sacred Heart was 22 or 23 in the committee
23.
rankings. Yeah,
Yeah, they were right.
right on the cusp.
Right in front of Incarnate Word, yeah.
But we didn't have a We didn't have a CFC and a Colonial. So, unfortunately,
so right now those teams would get bumped out of the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that honestly, I don't know who comes out on top, but I have a feeling that it's going to be an incredibly high-scoring game. I just have a feeling that's going to be like it's going to be Sac State versus San Diego 2. Just crazy scores. They kind of go off the chain.
I feel like Sacred Heart kind of pulls it out, man. They really are on fire. I mean, Stony Brook is coming out of this loss really well too. I think they're up like 24-7. I mean, that's usually the sign of a really good team if they can bounce back well after a loss. But I mean, it's really hard to doubt Sacred Heart with the form that they're in right now. I mean, he seems really on the ball.
I mean, they haven't lost since. Have they lost in 2019?
I mean, 7-0 in conference.
That includes
they've been on
Stony
a
Brook.
run.
About to be 8 now. I think they're up 24-10, late fourth.
Yep.
So I know that you guys tend to say that it's hard to beat a team twice in a season. Stony Brook.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that game, I think that was, 2 weeks ago? Last week or something? Stony Brook narrowly defeated by Sacred Heart 42-40. And they're going to probably see each other again really quickly. What do you guys have to say about that? Tenny.
Wait, sorry, I was reading something. Can you
Oh.
repeat that?
Yeah, well, I was just saying that Stony Brook, Sacred Heart just played each other, really close game, and it happened really, or it didn't happen that long ago, and it's really hard to beat a team twice in a row, as we tend to say. What do you have to say about that?
I think both teams will have 28 minutes of scouting on each other. Numbers. I mean, it's certainly like you may catch a tendency mid-game and just pray for a rematch, and that's exactly what both of them are getting. So I wouldn't be surprised if the rematch, either way, it's more of like a 14-point spread or something if one team has a beat on the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that'll be a close game. Sacred Heart's hot right now, but Stony Brook, like you said, they bounced back well, and they're looking good as well. So I think that'll be a close game. It'll be a good fight. But I have to think that I know we always say it's hard to beat the same team twice, but I like Sacred Heart to pull that one out again. They've just looked really good right now.
I'd have
I'm
to agree.
90% sure you said Stony Brook last week.
I did, but I am allowed to change my opinion.
I know. I'm asking what changed. What made you?
I'm just because Stony Brook Sacred Heart has looked good again this week, and I think they're a solid team. And like I said, I think it's going to be a close game, and I could really see it going either way. I don't know. I seem to be leaning a little bit more towards Sacred Heart this week.
I want to move on to the ASUN.
Let's do it.
I just got home here, so I'm pulling everything up. Danny, if you want to
Yeah. So the Atlantic Sun, we have been over this a bit. With it's the North Division, led by Chattanooga, East Tennessee State, and Jacksonville State, who are alive. The South Division is a little bit murkier. Mercer, Bethune-Cookman, Jacksonville, and Alabama State are still alive in there, although Alabama State, I don't think, has a game this week, so they're probably eliminated at 1-4. And we're looking at Mercer and Chattanooga, current favorites, but with Bethune-Cookman, the recent win over MVSU, I might flip over and say that, in my mind, they're my favorites. Also, because Campbell is currently beating up on Mercer. I'm saying Bethune-Cookman is my favorite to play Chattanooga. Mercer's getting beaten up by Campbell right now, so if they lose, and Bethune-Cookman, who has already won, wins next week, then I think Bethune-Cookman clinches. I don't think they played each other. I don't think Mercer or Bethune-Cookman. Nope. Mercer did beat Bethune-Cookman earlier in the year, so they would have the tiebreaker over them. I think we need I think Bethune needs Mercer to lose this week and next week, but I could be wrong. Chase, you're the guru on this one. I know he's pulling everything up, but when he gets a handle on it, why don't we talk about the North Division first? Chattanooga, East Tennessee State, Jacksonville State. Drew, what do you have to say about that?
I think Chattanooga's going to come out and spank ETSU next week. I don't even think it'll be close. I think ETSU is kind of a team with a good record, but they're still pretenders in my eyes. I haven't played anyone really good and beaten them. I think most of their games have been delay of games, all that stuff. I don't think they're a really good team. Mm-hmm. So I think Chattanooga comes out of that for sure. I think Bethune-Cookman, I think they kind of get out of that. I don't trust Mercer. They're not very convincing.
Do you take Chattanooga over
this week?
Do you take Chattanooga over everyone in the South, or do you think that if Bethune makes it in, they're gonna put up a good fight?
I think it'll be a lot closer than I originally thought because of how Bethune-Cookman's playing, but I still think Chattanooga's the favorite. They may have lost this week, but I mean Jacksonville's a good coach.
Mm-hmm.
I think Chattanooga bounces back. I think they end up winning that conference and probably sneak into top 8.
Yeah, I would.
Depending on the other result.
Mm-hmm. I gotta agree with you there.
I definitely think Chattanooga's still the favorite.
Yeah.
So, anyone else have something to say?
Tenny, how do you feel?
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think Chattanooga is probably the best. I mean, they're definitely going to come out of the top, out of the North in that division. But that'll be a good matchup with Bethune-Cookman because she's come on strong late in the season. Like we said, she took over the team week 7 and has been on a tear. So I think she could give Chattanooga a good run for the money, and I think Bethune-Cookman could get that conference title and the auto bid into the playoffs.
That would be impressive if they could run all the way to the auto bid like that. I think championship game is certainly on the table for him, especially if Campbell does run Mercer out of the.
And by the looks of it, it's looking that way.
That's right.
Mercer went from controlling their own destiny to. I mean, they're still going to do it, but they're not making it easy.
They don't control their own destiny, but with a Bethune-Cookman loss, they would make it at 4-4 over 3-3.
Yep.
Chase, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I still like Chattanooga to beat ETSU, make it, and win the conference. Bethune-Cookman's coming on strong. I don't really honestly know enough about Bethune-Cookman. Like, she jumped out of nowhere because Mercer has gone through a couple coaches while Bethune-Cookman has. They lost that head-to-head to Mercer. So it's like I really don't know what to think.
Yeah, kind of hard to judge a coach and
Yeah,
a
but I
team
mean,
that like has
perhaps
that
the best way to
change.
follow up a loss to Mercer is beating MVSU in a reschedule.
Yeah. Next conference.
Beating a dead horse here, Big Sky. We got Montana and Eastern Washington in the north, and then we have Cal Poly, Sacramento State, and UC Davis in the south. Currently Eastern Washington is losing to Idaho. I just sort of know that off the top of my head for no reason. Definitely haven't been paying very close attention to it. Or at least Tenny has. But either way, Montana wins. If Montana wins next week, they clinch. Or I think if Eastern Washington loses this week, then yes, Montana will clinch.
No, I think they need one of both, right?
Yes, they either need to win next week.
Both be 5-2.
Yep.
Oh.
Montana needs, assuming Eastern Washington loses, which we can assume, then Montana still needs to beat Montana. Of course, Eastern Washington could lose out, and Montana could limp into the playoffs.
Yeah, limp is it's an interesting word for that. Technically losing twice in a row, and if he doesn't make his championship game there after being the consensus number one for probably the most weeks in fake college football history, it would be interesting to see. But if
It'd be hilarious in here next week. We have to review games, and it's gonna be like me and Danny just like, yeah, well, we can't really talk about this game right now. So...
do you think it really will be going on this late? I think we'll be well done. I think we'll be well done by Wednesday night. Well, it'll depend on your work schedule, but either way, in the South, I think Cal Poly clinch with a win. They have the tiebreaker over Sac, who is at 5-2, and if they win, they'll be at 6-1, meaning the worst that Cal Poly could be would be 6-2, and the best Sac would be 6-2, but Cal Poly wouldn't have the tiebreaker. Yes, okay. The other scenario would be UC Davis, but Cal Poly is destroying.
If Cal Poly beats UC Davis, they win the division because they have the tiebreaker over Sac State. So even if they lose to San Diego next week,
okay,
they'll still be top of the division.
So Cal Poly,
another potential 1 versus 2 matchup. Yay!
So who aside from you, Haber, who would you take between Cal Poly and Montana?
I think old Cal Poly would give him a damn good fight. I don't know enough about new Cal Poly, but he certainly hasn't lost his.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I think since I think Habes, you will probably win. I would take you 60%, only because Cal Poly, the new Cal Poly, isn't really in chat, and that is a good. I won't say much publicly about how you tend to look at people, but I would say that it helps a lot, just for a lot of people, to know how your opponent reacts in chat, and
yeah, for sure.
And he's not here, so we don't really know much. That definitely didn't help when I was playing Eastern Washington. He smacked me around, and he was a little bit more ballsier than I anticipated. But overall, I'm not too worried about it. I think Montana, is locked into a seed. Do you see a scenario? Actually, this is a good question, where Montana doesn't get a seed?
Top 8 seed.
Yeah.
If they go into the playoffs on a 3-game losing streak.
So yeah, maybe.
I wouldn't be in the championship then. It'd be a 2-game.
Yes, you would if Iwu loses it out. You
I guess if they lose out, yeah. Jesus.
That would be a nightmare, I think. Especially if you, I think the only way is if you got blown out by the conference title, or like Cal Poly.
Mm-hmm.
It's very well possible.
Well, I'm sure we're gonna touch on this more. We may as well move on. I'm sure everybody knows more than they want to about the Big Sky conference standings.
I'm not even.
What's that?
God, man, And I'm not even in the Big Sky. I'm the odd man out.
Well, we gotta hurry up here, but we're just over an hour, so let's go to the Carolina Football Conference. The probably even more than the Big Sky.
Everybody's favorite conference.
Everybody's favorite conference. We're Wofford at 1-3 after week 10, still in it.
Presbyterian. This is a 5-bid conference. This is a 5-bid conference, and I could probably ping like 3 coaches that are in the disc.
That's more than me. And I feel like I'm pretty knowledgeable about it, and even then, that's way more than me. I can maybe do.
I know Gardner Webb has a ping. It's all I got here. I know
Davidson.
Elon had a ping.
Oh yeah, Davidson's in that. There's 2.
Presbyterian is our former president.
Impeached.
Do you guys have any insights at all about who you think will win the conference or do anything in playoffs?
Absolutely no insight. I think if any of these teams win a playoff game, I'd be astounded.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Any given week, yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. Literally any given game.
I
mean, Presbyterian's the only team I know much anything about the coach, and they lost last week to Elon, but they're winning this week, and I don't know. If anyone has a shot to make some noise in the playoffs, I'd say it's going to be Presbyterian.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's the same coach, but North Carolina, what is that, A&T, did defeat Jacksonville State. That might be the statement win of the entire conference, but I think...
Woo!
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Should we move on to...
We should move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
All right, so Colonial, Morgan State, Youngstown State, and Villanova. I was about to say Villanova State, and Villanova in the north, all alive, and Delaware State, James Madison in the south. Current favorite would be Morgan State and Delaware State, I believe. I'm not sure where those games are standing, but is there any out of the gate?
Cluster as well.
Yeah.
Another conference that...
It's just they don't have any world beaters there, man.
So Delaware State is beating Villanova 30-7 right now. So that I think
was Villanova the one that kept pinging their score like every time they scored last week?
I think so. But that would clinch the division for Delaware State.
Mm-hmm.
Does Morgan State even have a coach right now?
They do not. And in fact...
Great conference.
Because I was trying to sign up Morgan State, and I'm like, I think they're leading their division.
I looked at the record, and I was like, oh, that's not good. But I guess 2-0 in conference is good enough that he could have taken over and maybe had a better chance even than at Tennessee Tech. Villanova, Towson. Yikes, how far Towson has fallen. 3-0 at one point.
No kidding.
Yeah.
One bid conference. Moving on.
Yeah.
All right. Our actual favorite, Delta Intercollegiate. In the north, Mississippi Valley State. We got Southeast Missouri and I guess Arkansas Pine Bluff with the 3 dogs out of the running. Eastern Kentucky, Tennessee State, and Tennessee Tech are alive in the south. Mississippi Valley State is the favorite to win it. He only needs to win one more. He could beat Central Arkansas next week, or I think if SEMO loses this week, then MVSU will also clinch. Eastern Kentucky, the favorite in the south, he needs to win against. That game. Yeah, he was intended to play Tennessee Tech.
All those South teams had rescheduled games this week, so I don't know who Eastern Kentucky's playing.
Excuse me, please use the correct division names. Thank you.
Dick and balls, or balls and
Shaft.
Shaft and balls.
Wait, which one's the Shaft?
I believe I am in the Shaft division, but I can double check.
So Tennessee State is playing Tennessee Tech now, and Eastern Kentucky is playing Sam Houston State, and that game is in the first quarter still, but Eastern Kentucky is unsurprisingly up by 11 points. So I guess then we'll probably see Eastern Kentucky. Yeah, Eastern Kentucky and
Shocker.
MVSU. What do you guys think about that game? Because as we know, Eastern Kentucky is isn't being run by a lowly FCS coach. So
Don't knock it like that. FCS greater than FBS.
I'm just teasing.
I am the shaft, and Eastern Kentucky is the balls.
Okay.
Thank you. That is necessary clarification.
That'll have heavy impacts in the playoffs. I was just making that comment for us Minnesota viewers. Eastern Kentucky, MVSU, who do you take?
I still like
MVSU.
MVSU. I still do.
Mhm.
I think EKU plays a bit different than Western Kentucky does, but it's certainly of the same style. But I don't think they're unbeatable by any means. They did just lose in FBS, fell into number 25.
Oh, you cut out?
Oh, did I really? I'm sorry. That they lost in FBS and they fell down to 25. They're certainly not unbeatable in FCS.
Mm-hmm.
Those goddamn cornfields.
Farm needs new Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi corn. Order Wi-Fi corn. Yeah,
It's
I think
called
that'll be a
ethanol.
good game.
I think MVSU still comes out of there. I think he dumps his load on EKU. And I don't know. I have a really good feeling they'll bounce back. Great teams bounce back.
Uh-huh.
That's my motto.
He does
I
have a
think
game.
they'll still.
Yeah. He does have a game against Central Arkansas next week. I think that personally will help
I still
me
think-
decide. I think if MVSU loses to Central Arkansas, depending on how bad the score is, I might lean towards Eastern Kentucky. Of course, there is that bounce back factor, but I'm hopeful, but I'm not sold on Mississippi Valley State.
Tenny, what do you think?
Yeah, I want to say Eastern Kentucky, but I know MVSU is a great coach, and I think he'll have a bounce back, but still have one more game for each of them to get through. I mean, obviously, I think they'll both end up in that game and face off against each other, but Eastern Kentucky is just such a wild card team to play, and that score could get out of hand quick, but I think MVSU is a team that can hang with them, and I think it'll come down to close game, but if I'm going to make a pick, I'm going to pick Eastern Kentucky in that one. Sorry.
It'll be a good pick 'em. I really think so.
We
So
talked a lot
next-
about Great Plains if you want to go to the Mid-Atlantic.
Are you sure? Your own
Well,
conference.
Dayton's here now and wants to hear us talk about them a little bit, so let's,
Dayton wasn't
let's
here.
talk.
So Dayton, you're winning the Great Plains. It's been decided already.
Wow.
Was it?
You don't even have to. You don't even have to-
Butler Butler's getting hurt. Butler hurt right now.
I'm still leaning Butler. I think Butler's gonna win the whole conference.
I think Butler's
Yeah, I
going to win
like
the whole
Butler.
thing.
I like Butler to come out of that conference as well. They've
I
looked
also
strong
like
past
Butler
weeks.
to beat Northern Iowa. Yeah, me too. That.
Yeah, that Northern Iowa coach, he's something, right?
Fucking
see.
slap.
I think it'll be a good game. I'm not saying it's a blowout or anything. And
Oh, I'm
I think
very, very excited if that happens.
I actually think you, Dayton, and Butler, because I think all three of you are basically locks for playoffs at this point. I think all three of you will
I
actually
wouldn't
make a
go
run.
As far as you and I being a lock, I still think I need two more.
If UNI wins next week, I think they could lose the championship and still sneak in. But they need one more win.
It would be one of the last four in if that were to happen. I don't know. I think that's definitely at least a 3 bid.
Yeah.
It's a lot of good teams, man. It's a hard conference to get through. I know me personally, whenever I vote, I definitely like to take into account like how tough your conference has been, because I think that's a big indicator of if you can get out of a tough conference and win that. It's a really big indicator of how good you are like as a team. and it shows a lot of consistency.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on then to Mid-Atlantic, the Hampton Conference. So we got Lafayette and Lay in the Ariandac division, and Hampton, Norfolk State, and Howard in the Atlantic. Lafayette is the favorite to win. If you guys could bring up that score real quick, he just needs one win, I think, against St. Francis, if St. Francis shows up, and he's a lock. Hampton needs one win. He's got Wagner back-to-back. It'll be interesting, I think.
Hampton's up 21-7.
I think do you think they're a two-bid league? Like, if Lafayette wins the division and Hampton wins out but loses to Lafayette, is then that a two-bid conference?
I think, assuming Hampton's only is like he wins out and then loses the title game, I still think he's in.
I think so too.
I think Hampton, if he loses the title game, which would be a big upset, I think that turns this into a two-bid league, and then somebody at the bottom of the rankings gets bumped out. So it could be a bid-stealing conference. But
that McNeese State reschedule is in norm.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really like anyone's chances of knocking off Hampton. They have looked like a great coach, and I see them. I don't know. I don't want to say easily winning the conference game, but I would be shocked if they lost.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's their conference to lose, and it's only a two-bid league if he loses the conference championship. I think he's not like auto lock, maybe. I mean, if he were to lose out, then you have to ask the question. But I mean, probably if he wins this week, you can almost assume that he's in playoffs.
Yeah.
It's definitely only two-bid if he were to lose the conference title game for sure.
When we think about the Southland, Lamar and McNeese State battling it.
McNeese, I think they bounce back. They come back and win. I mean,
Lamar is losing right now, so that could be huge if Lamar ends up dropping that game. Funny thing is, though, even if they do drop that, if they beat McNeese State, they still.
Yeah.
Do we want to just speed through the rest of the conferences, except for maybe Ivy?
Well, I think that's the only one left.
Yep.
We don't have much to talk about for Southland, so a couple of games that
Ivy.
as final as you can get without being final.
Mm-hmm.
Dartmouth is getting run roughshod, right?
Yep.
One of us said that Dartmouth was like really, really good. It might have been me, but I remember one of us was very high on Dartmouth last week.
It was you, and it was also me that said Brown is going to make the title game, so I'm feeling good about that.
Ooh. Yeah, I think I'm still high on Princeton. Princeton plays Brown in week 12, and
that's a huge matchup. Could end up being a play-in game for the title game.
Yeah.
And after all that, after all the hype over Dartmouth, Princeton, Columbia, Brown, even Harvard at a certain, good old Yale might be the first team to punch their ticket into the title.
So, question for you guys: How many bids do you guys think this conference gets? Like when it's all said and done?
I think max 3. I don't think that there's going to be enough room. Someone's getting punched.
Right now they have 4 in: Dartmouth at 8, Princeton at 9, Brown at 14, and Columbia at 16. So
Columbia is losing bad right now.
Yeah.
They're going to be a fringe team come next week.
Mm-hmm.
I think Columbia is probably the odd man out there, and I think Dartmouth, Yale, and Princeton.
They can't make it back to the title game, and they play Cornell.
Yeah, I think Columbia's out. I think it's 4 bid. That's actually a very good
point. I think
point.
It's 3, honestly, because if Yale doesn't win the conference title game, they're not.
Yeah.
That out of conference murdered them, unfortunately.
Yeah, so 3, fringe 4. Sounds about right. They're good, man. That's a tough conference. That's a really tough conference.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy because going into conference play, it was just like de facto Big Sky, Ivy, these are the two teams, and undeniably they Ivy much more so, but we've been cannibalized by each other. It's interesting to see though, because you take a subset of out of conference wins, since once you start conference, there's really not much mobility. Sometimes you have to get a reschedule, but you're pretty much locked into the talent pool, right? So if you lose if you lose and you're in a really good conference, you're not going to be able to drop as much as if you lose in a really poor conference. Ivy is going to benefit a lot from that because they are all like, there's no clear winner. There's no 6-0 division guy. There's 4-2, 4-2, 3-2, 3-3. And even though they cannibalized a lot, they won't have a de facto like top 8 guy, but they'll have a lot of representation. Like we were saying, 3 bids, that's pretty good, especially when you see Carolina the Carolina Football Conference that has no chance at getting 2. I wouldn't be too disappointed if I started out the season in there.
It was all about honestly building that reputation.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think teams are so low on Yale still, because even though gotten done in conference, they started out so slow.
I agree. Should we get into some question and answer close up? We've got about 10 minutes to do that before we hit the hour 30 mark, which was the same as last week. We've got a bunch here. You can I would just say, Chase, do you got the pins up? They're all pinned.
Yeah, let me pull them up. I'll do it right now.
Yeah, if you just want to pick any of them, we don't have to go in order. Just anything that piques your interest. And then why don't you delegate that out? Yeah.
Let's see here. I've got a question from Butler. Will Montana versus Montana State live up to the hype it's received over the entire season? Discuss Montana and Montana State.
Me personally, even if the score doesn't end up being as close to what it should be, I think the fact that it's been like that one load you've been trying to bust for a long time, but you haven't had time, or your mom caught you or something, that one load is gonna burst into flames.
You okay, buddy?
Pent up energy.
No, I definitely think I'm so excited to play Danny. It's been a long time coming. When we were both 1 and 2 for that week or two for
it's 1 week
lost, but no, I really can't wait. It's been a long time coming, and Danny being such a good friend of mine, I think really helps, because it'll be a fun game. Even if I lose, even if I get blown out, I'll still be like, you know what? I'm happy for Danny. I'm happy that happened, and I think it's gonna be a good game regardless. I
agree. I think what really makes the difference is that it's at the end of the season, and we're both, I don't want to say locks for the playoffs. I mean, I would have to say that Montana is, but regardless, the fact that it's not going to be one of us is in and one of us is out really helps. That game, Idaho State versus Montana, that was huge because it was mid conference scheduling. So that could, at the end of the season, be the decider between number 20 and not in the playoffs. But this one, it's low stakes relatively, and it's 2 great friends. Honestly, IRL, I would love if Montana never won another game in the rest of their program history, but I would be defeated. I feel bad whenever fake Montana loses. So it's just kind of a friendly rivalry now, and no matter the score, even if I get blown out, if he gets blown out, if it's a close win or loss, I'm just gonna really enjoy it and embrace the fact that we're finally getting to play a de facto game. It's pretty big.
It actually has some meaning to me, especially if it gets me in the conference championship or not.
Absolutely.
And that could absolutely, I think if I win that game, I'm pretty much a lock for a top 8 seed. So I have a lot at stake in a way.
Yeah. It'll be am I seeded or not? And for you, it'll be am I going to get into the championship
I
game?
think if you beat me, you're almost a lock for top.
Oh
8.
yeah, I'm not worried about. Yeah, I mean, I think I'll be maybe 6 or so in the next. Well, we'll get into that. Let's get into another question. Yeah, we'll talk plenty about this in a couple weeks.
This one is from Hampton. Biggest possible upset left in the regular season.
Ooh, biggest
I
upset.
have to go find the matchups.
I think
The one that jumps out. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say. I don't know if you were gonna say this, but North Dakota versus Butler. If North,
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be a big one.
You're probably gonna be hurt, Butler, but the fact that we're saying it would be a massive, what's the word? You literally just said it.
I think it'd just be
Upset.
catastrophic for him.
There we go. That's the word. Upset. Yeah, it means that we respect you. Yeah. What are you saying, Drew?
I think it'd be catastrophic for Butler. Like that'd be a horrible loss. That'd be like if someone lost to Weber State or something.
Who does that?
Exactly.
Do you guys see another one
What's
that
the
you?
next question we got?
I would also throw myself in there if I lose to Idaho next week.
Hey.
I think
Idaho's leading the number 2 team in the country, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. They will look better, but at
No,
6-5 is not. I don't know, as
Yeah.
good of a conference as or as good of a schedule as I've played. That's not a. I don't know. It would be close, and I'd be playing a week 13 game, maybe against Drake or something, to try and secure up a playoff spot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh fuck, that'd be a great game.
One of the biggest ones that could happen.
What was that, Teddy?
I'll fight you.
We setting this up?
Is this happening right now?
Don't think I'm not listening.
A first
I know you're
on
listening.
FCS late night show.
Where crazy things happen. Yeah,
I'll
I think
book it right
I think we should lock that game up.
All right, on the contingency plan that Northern Iowa doesn't blow it, and I don't make the conference title as Drake. So Drake, Idaho State, week 13.
Yeah.
All right, official. That's why you got to listen to this live.
Yeah, dude. Fucking booked. If Drake beats Dayton and Idaho State, shit.
Wow, yeah, that'd be a great resume. All right.
Drake MVSU national title game. All right, I'm out.
Drop that mic.
Let's get one more question. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's one more. All right, this is a pretty hot button topic here, but definitely a good one. Jox asks, what happens with EWU the rest of the season? Where do they land in the playoffs?
So EWU's at.
So I think,
Oh yeah, go for it.
I was going to mention something that you said earlier in the week that really kind of hit the nail on the head. I think you keep them where they're at right now because of the resume, but it's really hard to judge because of the coach thing. But you almost have to feel like you drop them harder. Like, if they win, awesome. And it kind of feels a little unfair, but if they lose out the next 2 weeks, at 3 games in a row losing streak, you drop them harder than what you normally would. But at the same time, you have to judge the team. I mean, it sucks because they have that win over Cal Poly, which is enormous. That's, again, one of the best wins in the country by anyone. Because Cal Poly, with the way that they're playing right now, even under a new coach, they're still playing phenomenal and blowing teams out. But if they were to lose out, I still think they sneak in. That resume is still too good to pass up on, but
I see it
I don't
as
know where they land.
Old Eastern Washington is handing new Eastern Washington this perfectly stacked house of cards, and they got destroyed by Montana, and so a couple cards fell, but it's still standing. If they lose again, I think it's just hard to look at them as a legitimate team, and especially if they lose to Idaho. Idaho, I think, is a better team. And I think they can make it. 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 I think they can make who obviously we don't. It's a new coach, so you don't know the whole skill level business there, but it is one of the worst teams in the Big Sky.
Yeah. What's interesting, like they're in a really unique spot here where they, yeah, like I guess pretty much all of you have enunciated. But what's interesting is that their last 2 games are against the 2 worst teams in the division, Idaho and Portland State. And right now, losing against Idaho, if he takes an L against Portland State, that's a hard drop. I guess my question to you guys would be, do you think if he loses to Idaho and Portland State, assuming he doesn't do a Week 13 matchup, is there a chance that he doesn't make the playoffs?
I mean, he'd have 5 losses, so...
Would it be 5? I think there's a chance he does, but I don't know, man. That's hard. Because, we do judge teams and not coaches.
That's true.
Was it 2?
He'd have 4
right now, or does he have 3 right now?
He has 2 right now, yeah. So it'd be
4.
So it would be 4.
6 and 4.
I think he's a fringe playoff team. I think he's definitely like one of the 20 seeds.
But those are 2 god awful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point.
I think they still make it in, and to the crowd, yes, they make it in over Campbell. That's not even a real question. Serious. Like, who's Campbell beat? No one. Who is Eastern Washington beat? Cal Poly, one of the best wins in the country. Boom. That's literally the answer right there. You don't have to look any further than that.
I'm trying to see who Campbell plays last week of the season.
Campbell I don't think they have a very strong...
Jacksonville State. So that's a 7-4 team right now. Or 7-5? They just won? Or, 8-5?
Are they doing anything in that conference? I don't think so.
Still alive.
Yeah, Jacksonville State is alive. He's 7-4 right now. The win... what, did he just beat Etsu, or is that game still going on, or...
Was it Jacksonville State that beat Chattanooga?
No, that was
No,
Yes.
it was regular Jacksonville.
Oh,
Oh,
Jack State's playing Eastern Tennessee.
and...
I'll go back in my corner now.
Right now, Jacksonville State is leading 14-10 and halfway through the second quarter. If Jacksonville State beats Etsu and then loses to Campbell, maybe. That's a 8-4, I guess 8-5 team that they beat there. That would have to be their statement win.
I would likely judge Iwu much more harshly if they lose 3 in a row, 2 to bottom dwellers, and you've got a new coach. It's just hard to take them seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It
have
is,
to
but
agree
at the
with
same
that.
time, you have to look at that resume, though.
Right, but
Like-
also at the same time, you're just tossing in essentially a free victory.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're also screwing over any other team that had a new coach. Why wouldn't we just throw Yale in as an at-large then? New Yale coach is a god, but we have to account for the old record because that's what happened. Just because there's a coach change, it's too hard to do. There's too much turnover. And while I agree there should be a better system for it, that's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
We have way too much turnover right now to be able to simply judge off coaches. Like, I think Hamden was the one that suggested a coach rating. How the fuck do you judge that?
Not in season 2.
What, do you have to judge their FBS games too if they double dip?
Yeah.
Do you guys want to
We should...
take this to your after show? Well, I'm just saying, I'm happy to.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think
we're
that's a
kinda
great
done with,
idea.
Thoughts on it, yeah.
Yeah, we can take the after show.
All right,
The unofficial.
ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks so much for tuning in.
Oh, yes, you close it out.
No, man, you host it. I'll let you take it.
Oh, thank you so much. I do feel honored. All right, thank you so much for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. This has been the FCS late night FCS show. This is on YouTube. There should be some timestamps below if you wanted to revisit any of the conversation. And we hope to see you next week, same time, same place, for another edition of the Late Night FCS show. Have a great night.